Jake stood at the edge of the burned forest, staring at the broken planet below his boots. The ground was dry and cracked. The wind carried dust and silence. He had seen many dead worlds before, but this one felt different. It didn't feel dead. It felt forgotten. His ship, the Wanderer, was parked behind him, half hidden in tall metal grass. He was here on a salvage mission, looking for lost Earth cargo from a war that happened many years ago. His scanner picked up signs of old human tech, maybe supplies or data, but he didn't expect to find life. Suddenly, he heard a soft sound, like something dragging across the dry earth. He turned quickly, hand on his sidearm. A figure came into view. It was a woman, not human. She was thin and pale, her skin a soft blue color with marks like tiny stars glowing faintly on her arms. Her clothes were torn, her feet bare. Behind her, 3 small children peeked out, their eyes wide and sunken with hunger. The woman looked at Jake with tired eyes full of fear and hope. She took a slow step forward and then fell to her knees. "I'll work your fields, human," she said, her voice shaking. "Just feed my hungry children." Jake blinked. Did she just speak English? He stepped closer. "Who are you?" "My name is Sarah," she replied. We saw your firebird land from the sky. I knew a human had come." Haig looked at the children. Their bones were almost visible. One of them clung to the other, too weak to stand. "I don't have much food," Jake said carefully. "It's just some rations on my ship." Sarah lowered her head. "We don't need much. Just enough to stay alive. In return, I will help you clean your tools, grow things, anything." Jake felt something heavy in his chest. He had seen pain before, in war, in survival, but this was the kind of pain that spoke without screaming. He knelt down beside her. "Get up. Bring the kids. You can come with me." "Okay." Sarah's eyes widened. "You mean it?" Nodded. "But I need answers. How do you know English?" She stood slowly and helped her children. "When I was little, humans lived here. It's not many. They built farms and homes. My father worked with them. Then the war came. Everyone left or died." Jake frowned. That matched the old records, a peace colony destroyed during a solar conflict. But no one said anything about survivors. He led them through the tall grass toward his ship. The kids moved slowly, weak and afraid. One of them, a small girl with silver eyes, looked up at Jake and whispered, "Are you a good human?" Jake paused. "I tried to be." Inside the Wanderer, the air was cool and clean. Jake opened a storage case and pulled out food packets. Sarah made the children sit, then carefully opened the rations and divided them equally. The kids ate like they hadn't seen food in days, maybe weeks. Jake sat on a nearby crate, watching. He had no orders to help anyone. His job was to find tech and report back. But looking at them now, he couldn't just walk away. "What happened to the others?" Jake asked softly. "Some were taken by the black sky fires," Sarah said. "Others ran. A few tried to fight. None came back. We have hidden in the old caves since then." "And your husband?" Jake asked. Sarah looked down. "Gone, many cycles ago." The room grew quiet. Only the sound of the children eating could be heard. Jake stood and activated the ship's external scanners. Suddenly, the screen beeped. A signal. Something was moving nearby. Big, fast. He zoomed in. Trees shaking. Heat signature unclear. Not a human. Not one of Sarah's kind either. "Sarah," Jake said quickly. "Is anyone else out there?" She looked at the screen, fear returning to her face. "Not anyone who wants peace." Jake reached for his weapon. Then, "We're not safe yet." Outside, the wind howled. In the distance, something watched. Something. Old, something angry, and it was coming. Jake tightened the ship's door as the wind outside picked up. The scanners still showed movement, but whatever it was had not come closer. For now, they were safe. But Jake knew that safety on a broken world never lasted long. Inside, the children slept on folded blankets near the warm power core. Their small bodies curled up, finally resting with full stomachs. Sierra sat near them, her eyes tired but calm. Jake handed her a cup of hot water. "It's not much," he said, "but it helps." Sierra took it with both hands and nodded. "Thank you. You have given more than most." Jake didn't reply. He stared at the screen, watching for that strange heat signal. It had vanished. Maybe it was a machine. Maybe a beast. Maybe something worse. "We can't stay here," he said. "Not long." Sierra looked at him. Where?" Jake tapped the screen and opened a map. "There's an old Earth pod, 5 kilometers from here. A farm base. I saw it on the scan earlier. If it still works, we can grow food. Stay safe." Sierra smiled faintly. "I remembered that place. My father once said the humans taught him how to plant earth crops there." Jake stood. "Then let's go." First light. By morning, the winds had calmed. Jake packed what little food they had left and gave each child a piece of fruit gum. It made them smile. The smallest boy, barely able to walk the night before, reached up and held Jake's hand. They walked for hours through dead forests and broken paths. Sierra carried the youngest child on her back, even though she was weak herself. Jake carried the supplies and kept watch. Finally, they saw it, a metal dome half buried in the dirt and vines. The earth farming pod. Jake wiped the dust off the door panel. It sparked to life. The system still had power, still breathing, Jake said. The door hissed open and they stepped inside. It was cold and empty, but the air was clean. Lights flickered weakly from the ceiling. Rows of farming beds stretched along the walls. Machines for planting, water tanks, even old seed pods, all left behind years ago. Sierra touched the soil with her hand. "Still good," she said. "It's dry, but good." Jake smiled. "Then let's fix this place up." Over the next 2 days, they worked. Jake repaired the water systems. Sierra cleaned the beds and cleared the dry roots. The children helped with small hands, pulling weeds, carrying tools, or just watching curiously. They found working lights, a small cooking unit, and a tiny room with a bed and 2 chairs. Not much, but better than the cold ground. Sierra worked hard. She never asked for rest. She never complained. Jake saw the strength in her, not in her body, but in her will. She had nothing, yet she gave everything. One evening, after planting new seed pods, Jake sat beside Sierra outside the pod. The sky was dark, stars glowing above like tiny memories. "Why didn't you run when you saw me?" Jake asked. Sierra looked up. "Because humans once helped us. My mother told me stories," she said. "If you ever see a human again, don't fear. They have fire in their hearts, but some still carry kindness." Jake didn't speak for a moment. Then he asked, "Do you still believe that?" Sierra looked at her sleeping children. "I believe it now." Later that night, Jake checked the scanner again. That strange heat signal had returned. It was circling, slow and careful. He turned to Sierra. "We are not alone." She stood quietly. "It could be them, forgotten ones. Survivors like us, but not like us anymore." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Explain." Sierra's voice dropped. We were hurt during the war, poisoned by machines and radiation. They changed, angry, lost. Some eat anything, some hate humans." "Okay." Jake's hand moved to his blaster, "And they're close." "Yes," Sierra said, "and they always come at night." Jake looked at the door. "Then I'll keep watch. You stay with the kids." She placed a hand on his arm. You saved us, Jake. I won't let them take that away. Midnight came. Jake stood outside the dome, his weapon ready. The wind was quiet, but something moved between the trees. A shadow, then another. He raised his gun. I see you, he said, into the darkness. Silence. Then a voice echoed back, rough, broken, and cold. We see you too, human. Jake narrowed his eyes. Whatever was out there, it wasn't afraid, and it wasn't going away. The voice from the darkness echoed in Jake's mind long after it faded. We see you too, as human. He stood still, watching the shadows move between the broken trees. His grip tightened on his blaster. The farm dome was behind him, quiet. Inside, Sarah and the children were asleep, trusting him to protect them. Jake didn't fire. Not yet. Whoever they were, they didn't attack. Not now. Just watching, reminding him they existed. Finally, the shadows faded. The forest returned to silence. Jake stayed on guard the rest of the night. By morning, he was tired, but alive. He rechecked the scanner, no signs of movement now. But he knew that didn't mean they were gone. He stepped back inside the pod. Sarah was already awake, feeding the children a warm paste made from stored food. She looked at Jake and saw the worry on his face. They came, she said softly. Jake nodded. They didn't strike, but they're close. Watching. Sarah lowered her eyes. They are not like before. They hide in the tunnels. The war changed them. Jake sat down beside her. Okay. You called them the forgotten ones, she said. Once, they were like us. Survivors. Families. But pain makes monsters if it stays too long. Jake thought for a moment. Maybe I should go meet them. Speak to them. Sarah's eyes widened. No. They hate your kind. They think humans left them to die. Jake sighed. Maybe they're right. But you came back, Sarah said. You brought food. You brought hope. He looked toward the woods. That might not be enough. That day, Jake and Sarah worked on repairing the solar panels. The children played near the edge of the garden beds. The dome needed more power, especially for the water system. Every small fix meant survival. Suddenly, one of the children screamed. Jake ran toward the sound, weapon drawn. He found the youngest boy standing near a hole in the ground, an old, cracked entrance to a tunnel. There's someone down there, the boy cried. Jake looked inside. Deep, dark, and cold. Faint marks along the wall. A hidden path underground. SIR came running, pulling the boy close. That's one of the old escape tunnels. Used it to hide during the sky fires. Jake looked closer. These tunnels might lead to them, the forgotten ones. Sarah shook her head. It's dangerous. It's too many turns, too much darkness. But Jake had made his decision. That night, after making sure the pod was sealed and the children were asleep, Jake put on his gear. He carried a light, a small ration pack, and his weapon. Sarah waited by the tunnel entrance. Why are you doing this? She asked. Because peace isn't built by hiding, Jake replied. If they want war, they'll find us. There's even a chance they'll listen. I have to try. Sarah stared at him. Come back alive. I plan to, Jake said with a tired smile, then dropped into the tunnel. The tunnel was long and narrow. The air smelled of rust and dust. Old lights blinked on the walls, powered by dying batteries. Jake moved carefully, his light scanning. Each turn, he passed old writing Earth's symbols mixed with alien ones. Messages of peace, warnings, prayers. Then he heard it. Footsteps. He stopped, raised his weapon. From the shadows, figures appeared. Tall, thin, wrapped in torn cloth and metal armor. Their skin was scarred, their eyes glowing dim blue. One of them stepped forward. His voice was rough. You are brave or foolish. I'm here to talk, Jake said calmly. You came to our land. You feed one of them. You bring Earth machines back to life. I didn't come to fight, Jake said. I came to help. The figure moved closer. Help? Where was help during the Skyfire, when our people burned and the humans ran? Jake lowered his weapon. I wasn't there, but I'm here now. The silence grew heavy. Then the leader spoke again. We remember Earth kindness, but also Earth betrayal. You must prove yourself. Jake nodded. How? The leader pointed toward a broken metal gate deeper in the tunnel. Beyond this gate is our pain. You can face it and survive. Then, maybe, we will talk. Jake looked at the gate. The air behind it was colder, darker, full of something ancient. He stepped forward. Back at the pod, Sarah sat awake. The children were sleeping, but her heart was not. She looked at the stars and whispered a small prayer. Let him come back, or we are lost again. Jake stepped through the broken metal gate. The tunnel ahead was colder, darker, and filled with a strange smell, like wet stone and burned metal. The flashlight in his hand flickered, and for a moment, he was swallowed by the shadows. He kept walking. Behind him, the Forgotten Ones watched in silence. None followed. This test was his to face alone. The deeper he went, the tighter the tunnel became. The walls were marked with clawed fingers, deep scratches like someone had tried to escape. The ground sloped downward, and Jake had to crouch. Then he heard it breathing, but it wasn't human. It was slow, deep, and heavy. Something was in the dark with him. Jake paused. I came to help, he said softly, not to fight. No answer. Just the sound of breathing closer now. Suddenly, the flashlight died. Darkness. Jake dropped to one knee and pulled out a small emergency glow stick. He cracked it open. Green light filled the space around him. That's when he saw it. A shape, chained to the wall. It was once a living being, part alien, part machine now. A test subject, left behind during the war. Its skin was covered in old wires and metal plates. Its eyes opened slowly, glowing faint red dot. Jake didn't run. He stepped forward. The creature growled weakly, too broken to move. There was pain in its eyes. Jake whispered, What did they do to you? The creature made a strange sound. Not words, but not just noise either. Jake reached into his bag and pulled out water. He placed it near the creature. The thing looked at him, then at the water, and slowly took a sip. It didn't attack. It simply cried. Jake returned an hour later, silent and pale. The leader of the Forgotten Ones waited at the tunnel entrance. You saw it? The leader asked. Jake nodded. They tortured your people, left them in the dark like animals. And now, Kay looked at him firmly. I believe you. I believe your pain. The leader's voice was softer now. Then maybe you are not like the others. Jake took a breath. Let me help. We have food, seeds, a working dome. There's enough for your people too. The leader stepped closer. What's your price? Jake looked tired. None. Just peace. The leader thought for a moment, then gave a slow nod. We will send someone, one, to speak more. Back at the pod, Sarah rushed to Jake as soon as he climbed out of the tunnel. Her eyes were full of fear and worry. You're hurt, she said, touching his shoulder. Jake winced, but smiled. Just tired. Did they hurt you? No, Jake said. They let me go, and they're willing to talk. Sarah stared at him. That's not possible. They never talk, never listen. They did tonight, Jake said quietly. 'Cause I didn't raise my weapon. She sat down beside him. You risked everything for us. Jake looked at the children playing nearby. You asked me to feed your children. But maybe this place needs more than food. Maybe it needs a second chance. The next morning, a figure appeared near the edge of the trees. A tall, thin woman, her face covered with a mask. One of the forgotten ones, Jake, met her at the gate. "I am Marion," she said, sent to speak. Jake nodded. "Come in. You're welcome here." Moran looked around the pod, the working fields, the happy children, the soft light. She was quiet for a long time. "This place reminds me of what we lost," Sid said. Jake replied, "Then maybe it's time to rebuild it." For the next few days, Moran visited often. She watched Sarah work, listened to Jake's plans, and even helped the children plant seeds. Slowly, she started to believe. But peace always has a price. One night, Moran came to Jake with a warning. "My people are divided," she said. "Some want peace, but others want revenge." Jake understood. "Then we need to show them what peace looks like." Marion looked serious. "If they come, it won't be to talk." Jake nodded. "Then we'll be ready, not with guns, but with truth." Later that night, Jake sat alone, staring at the stars. He had come to this planet looking for lost tech. Instead, he had found something far more valuable: people who had lost everything but still had hope. Sira came and sat beside him. "You changed everything," she said. Jake shook his head. "No, I just listened." She smiled softly. "That's what makes you different." In the darkness behind the trees, eyes still watched, some filled with fear, others with anger. But one thing was now clear: the price of kindness was risk. But sometimes it was the only way forward. The wind was quiet that morning, but the silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt like something was watching, waiting. Jake checked the farm pod's outer defenses. He tightened a few bolts, added extra power to the scanner, and cleaned the solar panels. The crops were growing slowly now. The children were stronger. Even Sira looked healthier. But Jake's mind was not calm. Inside the pod, Sira stood near the food machine, cutting fruit and mixing warm paste. Her hands moved gently, but her eyes were on the door. She felt it too. Moran hadn't returned in 2 days. Something was wrong. Later, while the children rested, Jake and Sira sat outside near the garden. "She should have come back by now," Jake said. Sira nodded. "I know. She trusted us, and I trusted her." "Maybe her people stopped her," Sira said softly. Jake looked toward the woods. Or worse. A long silence followed. Then Jake stood up. "I'll go find her." Kira grabbed his arm. "No, I have to. She was our bridge to peace. If you go alone, you won't come back." Jake hesitated. "Then what do I do?" Sira's voice was steady. "Let me go." Jake stared at her. "What? They don't trust you? But they might still listen to me. I'm one of them." Jake shook his head. "It's too dangerous." "I survived firestorms, hunger, and death," Sira said. "I can survive this too." Jake wanted to argue, but then he saw it, the fire in her eyes. She was not asking for permission. She was telling him what needed to be done. That night, Sira dressed in her old cloak, the one with the family markings. She kissed each of her children on the forehead and whispered promises of return. Jake handed her a small light stick and a food pack. "If things go wrong, they won't," she said, "because I carry no weapon." Jake looked at her for a long moment. "Be careful." "I always am," she said with a soft smile. And then she disappeared into the trees. The forest was dark, but Sira moved with calm steps. She remembered the old paths, the secret ones used by her people during the war. The ground was cold beneath her feet, but she did not stop. She reached the tunnels before sunrise. Guards stood near the entrance. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dark. One of them growled, "You don't belong here." "I am Sarah of the River Clan," she said. "Came to speak." Another voice echoed from within. It was rough, but familiar. Let her in. Moraine stepped forward, her arm bruised and her cloak torn. They did not like my words, she said quietly, but I still believe. Syrah touched her arm gently. Then let us speak louder. Inside the main chamber, a crowd of the Forgotten Ones had gathered, faces hidden behind cloth and anger. They stared at Syrah with suspicion. One of the leaders stood. Why should we listen to you? You walk with a human. Syrah stood tall. Yes, I do. And he fed my children when we had nothing. He fixed the machines. He cleaned the earth. He is one man. And one man can be enough, she said. Just like one fire can burn a forest or light the way home. A murmur moved through the crowd. Syrah raised her voice. We say humans left us, but not all of them. One came back. He did not bring guns. He brought seeds. A few heads turned. Let the children of the fallen live in peace. Let us grow food, not fear. The chamber was quiet. The leader's eyes narrowed. And if we say no, Syrah's voice dropped to a whisper, then we die alone. Again. Back at the pod, Jake waited, pacing. Hours passed. The children slept. The scanners were silent. Then a signal dot movement. He grabbed his weapon and rushed outside from the trees. A figure appeared. Syrah. Jake ran to her. You're alive. She nodded, tired but smiling. Behind her, two more figures followed. Moran and the leader of the Forgotten Ones. Jake stepped back, unsure. The leader looked at him. I still do not trust you, human, but I trust her. Glanced at Syrah. She spoke with no fear, the leader said, and reminded us what strength truly means. Syrah stood quietly beside them, not proud, not loud, but unshaken. Her silent strength had done what weapons could not. That night, the pod was full of quiet voices, shared food, and slow hope. Two worlds had taken a step closer, not through war, but through one woman's courage. And in the starlight, Jake whispered, You saved us all, Syrah. She simply smiled and said, Sometimes, strength speaks without sound. The farm pod was alive again. Plants were growing. The water system was working. Children laughed and played under the sun. And for the first time in years, both humans and Forgotten Ones sat together, eating, talking, sharing stories. But Jake couldn't rest. Something still bothered him. The old Earth tech, buried deep underground. The signals coming from a place the scanner couldn't fully read. He'd seen strange codes flashing on the screen. Ancient codes. Human codes. One night, while others slept, Jake sat alone, studying the scanner. A hidden signal blinked at the far edge of the map. A bunker, buried deep under the hills. Jake's eyes narrowed. This might be where it all started. The next morning, Jake gathered a small team. Syrah, Marin, and two strong young men from the Forgotten Ones. They packed food, lights, and tools. Syrah looked at him with concern. You sure it's safe? Jake shook his head. No, but if that bunker holds the truth about this war, we need to see it. Marin added. Truth is the only thing that can keep peace alive. They moved out quietly, crossing dead forests and rocky fields. The sky was gray, and the wind whispered like voices from long ago by sunset. They reached the old hill. Jake used his scanner to find the entrance. A heavy metal door, rusted and covered in vines. He brushed the dust away and found an old Earth symbol, a hand holding a seed. Project Eden, Jake read out loud. What was that? Syrah asked. Jake's voice was low. An old human mission. A dream to grow life on dead planets. This might have been one of their bases. He pressed a few buttons. The door didn't move. Then Marin stepped forward. Let me try. She touched a small panel beside the door and whispered in her language. The panel lit up. The door creaked. Open. Inside. The air was dry and cold. Lights blinked weakly overhead. The walls were covered with pictures, humans and aliens working side by side, planting trees, building homes. They walked slowly through the halls, passing broken machines, faded books, and smashed screens. Sarah picked up a photo. "That's my father," she whispered. "And is that a human?" Jake looked closely. "That's my great-grandfather." He stared at the picture, a young man in Earth clothes, smiling with his arm around an alien farmer. Jake's hands shook slightly. He was one of the first peace workers. They moved deeper into the bunker and found a large door marked Archives. Jake opened it. The room lit up with old power. In the center stood a dusty machine with a blinking red light dot. Jake pressed a button. The machine came to life. A hologram appeared, a human man with short gray hair and kind eyes. "If you're seeing this," the hologram said, "then we failed." Everyone watched in silence. This planet was once full of hope, humans and aliens working together. Project Eden was a dream we all shared, but the war ruined everything. We couldn't stop it. We couldn't save them all. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. The hologram continued. "But if peace ever returns, let this message be your guide. Don't repeat our mistakes. Don't let fear win again. Help each other. Forgive. Rebuild." Then the image faded. Silence filled the room. Jake sat down on a broken bench. He tried. He really tried. Sarah held his hand. "Okay, now, so are we." Suddenly, the lights flickered. The walls rumbled slightly. Moran looked around. "What was that?" Jake stood quickly. "We triggered something. Maybe a defense system or a power surge." They ran back toward the exit, but the main door had started to close. "Move!" Jake shouted. They rushed through just in time as the heavy door slammed shut behind them. Dust flew everywhere. They coughed and stumbled out into the open air. Later that night, back at the pod, Jake sat with the children, showing them the old photo he found. "This man," he said, pointing, "was my family. He believed in peace, just like your mother does now." The children listened with wide eyes. Sarah watched from a distance, a soft smile on her face. Marion joined her. "He is not like the humans we feared." "No," Sarah said. "He is better." Next day, Jake stood before the gathered villagers, humans, aliens, and forgotten ones. He held up the photo and said, "The past tried to destroy us, but it also left behind a message. We are not enemies. We were never meant to be. Together, we can grow again." For the first time in a long time, the ghosts of the past felt a little further away. Hope had returned. The sun was rising over the farm pod. For the first time in years, the land looked alive. Green plants covered the soil. The air was filled with the soft sound of laughter. Human, alien, and forgotten ones worked side by side. Jake stood on the roof of the pod, fixing a signal tower. He had one final message to send to Earth Command. He opened the comm system and began to speak. "This is Jake Wallace, survivor, explorer. I've found something on this planet that Earth needs to hear. Not weapons, not tech, but hope." He paused and looked down at the people below. "This world is healing. The war left deep wounds, but it didn't kill kindness. It didn't destroy everything. I won't be returning. My mission has changed." He pressed send. The message went out into the stars. 2 days later, a large ship entered the planet's orbit. It was Earth-made, big, clean, and shining like silver. The farm pod scanner beeped, showing its size and direction. Jake frowned. "They came faster than I thought," he said. Sarah stood beside him. "Will they listen?" Jake wasn't sure. He pressed the come button. "Earthship, this is Jake Wallace. I've made peaceful contact with native survivors. We've built a safe zone. Please respond peacefully." There was silence. Then a voice replied, cold and sharp. "Jake Wallace, this is Captain Grayson. You were ordered to collect tech, not settle down. Prepare for retrieval." Jake's jaw tightened. "I'm not leaving. This planet is now under Earth control. All alien presence must be removed." Jake's heart sank. Sierra looked at him. "They want to erase us again." Jake turned to her. "Not this time." Later, the Earth ship landed on a wide field near the pod. Soldiers came out, wearing clean suits, holding weapons. They marched like machines. Captain Grayson stepped forward, gray hair and cold eyes. Key saw Jake and frowned. "You've gone?" "Soft," he said. "Living with them, sharing food with them. You forgot your job." Jake stood tall. "No, I remembered what it means to be human." Grayson looked at Sierra and the children. "They don't belong here." "They do now," Jake replied. "They survived the war. We're building something good here." Grayson's voice turned hard. "This land belongs to Earth. If you don't come back with us, you'll be marked as a traitor." Jake looked at the crowd behind him, Sierra, Maria, the children, the workers in the fields. All eyes were on him. He took a deep breath and made his choice. "I stay." Grayson's eyes narrowed. "Then you'll die with them." He raised his hand, about to give the attack order. Suddenly, a deep sound echoed in the air, a distant blast. Everyone turned from the hills. A group of forgotten ones arrived, holding old tech weapons, not to fight, but to block the Earth soldiers. Marion stepped forward. "We are not here to harm, tease, but we will not let you take our home." Sierra joined her. "We have children, families. This land is ours too." Grayson looked around, suddenly unsure. Jake stepped beside them. "This is what peace looks like." Earth soldiers hesitated. They looked at their captain, then at the families, the green fields, the smiling children. They lowered their weapons. Grayson was alone now. He stared at Jake. "You think this will last?" Jake nodded. "It already has." That evening, the Earth ship left. Grayson did not say goodbye. He simply walked back into his ship, angry and defeated. The people cheered. Some cried, some hugged. All were free now. Jake stood in the middle of the field, watching the sky. Sarah came to him. "You gave up everything for us." Jake smiled. "No, I found everything here." She held his hand. "So what now?" Jake looked at the land around them. "We build, we grow, we teach the children a better way." Weeks passed. New homes rose beside the old pod. More green fields spread across the land. The old tunnels were cleaned and turned into storage. The past wasn't forgotten. It was respected. Moran taught history. Sierra helped grow food. Trained the young ones in science and repair. The community became a family, and in the center of it all, a sign was placed. New Eden, a place where kindness won. One night, as stars filled the sky, Jake sat on the roof of the pod. Looking up, a child climbed beside him. Sierra's daughter. "Will Earth come back?" she asked. Jake smiled. "Maybe, but next time we'll be ready. Not with weapons, with truth." She leaned on his shoulder. "I'm glad you stayed." Jake looked down at the village, alive, full of laughter and light. "I am too," he whispered, and in that quiet moment, surrounded by stars and peace, he knew one choice had changed everything.